In this episode, we talk to Quinty, who's most known for being, well, Quinty. He's the creator of Whatever Floats Your Boat on Roblox with over 50 million visits. This is the Roadblocks Creator Series.
That should be good. Recording there, Zoom's recording, my audio is recording, all that's recording, and we're set. You feel ready?
Yeah.
Of course, this is the way I open all of the episodes. So as if you're explaining it to someone who's never heard of you, who's never heard of Whatever Floats Your Boat.
Sure.
Who are you and what have you done on the Roblox platform?
Yeah, so I'm James Anand. My username on Roblox is Quinty, and I've done a lot of things on Roblox. Roblox is this platform where you can make games and content, and I've made both popular games on the platform along with a lot of open source content that people can use to make games. And also, my avatar is a Roblox toy, which is super cool, and I'm in some Roblox books, and so I've just made a lot of assets on Roblox that people know me for, which is really cool. The game that I'm known for is Whatever Floats Your Boat, which is like a boat building game that I made 4 or 5 years ago. And I've also, the assets that I've made include like the top 6 toolbox assets, which is what people know me for, along with some templates in Studio. I made one of the Studio splash screen images. I've won a few game jams. There's a lot of like open source programs that people can use. So I've made some plugins, some open source code, and I've worked on a lot of other games on Roblox.
I think it's interesting because, most of the developers we feature, which there's nothing wrong with it. They're known for, one thing, like one game, or they're known for, one plugin. But you, I guess, put your eggs into many different baskets, as they would say. When did you join Roblox, and then kind of the process to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I joined Roblox in 2009. This was when I was 12, and I've been making things on Roblox ever since.
Are you self-taught? Did you go to school for this?
I originally learned how to program and make things on Roblox, and then I went to school, and I have a computer engineering degree. So I just graduated 5 months ago. So that's pretty cool.
You joined when you were 12. Did you immediately get into game development?
One of my friends showed me Roblox, and they pitched it as a place where I could go make anything I wanted. So I'm pretty sure so I remember playing an obstacle course at first. That was like the first thing I did on Roblox with my friend there. And I tried to use the click to move thing with the space bar to get to jump over the obstacle course thing. And that was really hard. And they were like, no, you can't do that. And then I think maybe we downloaded Roblox Studio that day, but I'm not actually sure. I've looked back and I definitely started making things within like a month of joining. I'm pretty sure I started making things before that. But yeah, I'm not quite sure when I started making things, but it definitely took a while to get back to like actually making something that was like played by people. And that was probably another few years. Took a while. Initially, I was kind of reluctant to go do computer science because like I want to go outside and like do things. But I took some computer science classes in like high school because my friends were taking them, and I was like, this might help with like Roblox development. And it turns out I was like pretty good at programming. And so then I went to school eventually for computer engineering. And then it turns out like to get a good job in the computer industry, you need to go do like internships. So I did those because they're like really good experience. And that worked out really well. So basically interned with Roblox and then Garmin and then Microsoft again. And then I'm going to Microsoft full time. Turns out, even though I was a computer engineering major, I'm really good at the software side of things. So that's what I'm doing right now.
That's interesting. So you're going to Microsoft full time. Is that
Yeah.
going to affect your Roblox development? Or are you going to do that? Like, is it going to...
Basically, I asked Microsoft before I signed with them if I would be able to continue to work on my stuff, because like, Microsoft is massive and you sign like a do not compete thing. And basically what they told me is just like list it as prior art and then you can continue to maintain it. It shouldn't be a problem. And I'm not going to go work on like Minecraft or something. I'm going to go work on developer tools. So it's not like competing in the same field. So as long as it doesn't detract from my ability to do my job, I think I should be good.
Could you give us a look into, I guess, what an internship at Roblox would look like?
Yeah, so basically there's two things that people call internships. There's the accelerator or incubator program, which that's what I'm doing right now. So you come into Roblox with a game concept and a team, and you say, we're going to make this over the next 3 months. You work on whatever you need to do, and you try and release the game, and you get to keep all the profits from that. And you basically learn from that. And at the end, hopefully you get an offer from Roblox. And then usually the recommendation is go try different companies. Don't just try one company and figure out what you like. So when I was interning at Roblox, I did like 30 different features and bug requests and fixes and stuff. And some of my stuff is still in studio today, which is really cool. So like the little increment things, like on the draggers to change how far it drags, I did that. I did like clicking on stack traces. Wait for child was like an API thing that I did. So that's really cool. It's like fun to see the work that I did like still being used today.
So obviously you didn't get to the point where you're a Roblox toy in the books, have millions of players on your game, and you're a household name without some roadblocks and challenges. Could you tell me about some challenges you faced personally, as well as a creator on the Roblox platform?
Yeah, so on the short term, something I've been thinking a lot about that's been on my mind is basically for our existing accelerator project. We're at the midpoint of this project right now. So we've done 3 months and then we're doing summer accelerator. So we've got 3 more months left, and basically trying to figure out where the gameplay is going to come from for this game. So we have this aesthetic that we've nailed down and a lot of like good interactions that we're really happy with, but we're not happy with like what the player wants to do during the whole time. Really struggling right now. And I think one of these challenges is every time I sit down to make a like big long-term game, I end up failing pretty heavily, which is exactly what this accelerator project is. And then every time I try and make something really fast and quick, it ends up working out a lot better. And part of this is I think there's probably a lot of failures in these quick and fast projects, but it just turns out that like trying to make this big project be really good is really hard. Struggling with that is something I've been thinking a lot about now. And so we're going to take a step back and look at the game design as a whole and try and nail this down. And I always feel like game design has been one of the weaker things that I'm like one of my weaker skills. And so working on that is always something that I'm trying to work on, but it's hard to get that down.
What do you think that is?
Part of it might be that it's so easy to go and start creating things in studio. I mean, I always want to take a step back. Like especially in short projects, I always do a little bit of planning beforehand. And for like game jams, we'll spend like 2 or 3 hours thinking really hard about what we're going to make and how we're going to present it. But for like longer term projects, it's not like I don't do the same thing. It's just harder. It's like easier to get sidetracked and it's harder to toss away this like long-term work. So there's some like sunk fallacy cost here. And then also there's a lot of these ideas that I want to try in these long-term projects that are harder to like nail out. But I think a lot of personal growth in my development skills comes from these long-term projects that I can then reapply to these smaller projects. So there's different trade-offs there. And I think there's a level of perfectionism that comes too from you're sitting down to make this game over the course of 3 months in an accelerator program. And it's really hard not to say, okay, well, this time we're going to do this right, and this right, and this right, and this right. And like really try and get everything perfect. And this perfectionism really tends to kill like the game as a whole. And I mean, it's not uncommon for like 90% of the accelerator games to just never release or to like never see any mass adoption, which is somewhat of a travesty, but not uncommon, I think, when you look at like general startup rates in the industry or anything like that. So that's just a really interesting challenge. One thing I've talked about but haven't really done is just making a new game every week for like the next accelerator project session. I think that could be really interesting.
A game
pretty
a week.
Bold. But we really, really want this. We think that this game that we're working on is going to be really good. So we're really trying to make sure we're trying to nail it down too. So there's really big trade-offs there, I guess. I'm sure there's been lots of other roadblocks that I've ran into, but
right.
It's hard to recall them now, honestly.
I get it, especially since you've been on the platform since I was 9 years old. Could you tell me about a point in your life that you wanted to just say, this isn't worth it, and just give up?
I've never really gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna quit Roblox because this isn't worth it. It's just other things take like higher precedence, I guess, in my life. So I actually have a lot of fun making things on Roblox, but sometimes it's just like when you're doing like an internship or something else, the same energy that you would like, that creative energy you would put into like game development ends up being pulled into like the work that you're doing for this company, which is like both kind of what they're paying you for, but also it means when you go home you want to go play something that's like more chill and like takes less work. So like I can get the same like dopamine hits from like playing Kerbal Space Program or like Factorio or something. It's like less creative output. And like now that I'm doing game development for Roblox full time, like the first time in my life, I've like stopped playing these games as much because it's like if I'm gonna go do this like creative stuff, I might as well go like work on my game, and it's like the same level of fulfillment. And it's not necessarily like a roadblock like your podcast name would suggest.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like I'll like notice the output of like what I'm making varies over time like that.
What has been the biggest failure from you as a creator on Roblox, and why do you think that happened?
I am like, I've scrolled through my list of things that I've made, and there's like hundreds of things that I failed to make. It's hard to nail down each one as like a failure. And I don't think it's really right to see them as failures either, because I like always learn something new from making these new projects. But I think it maybe from like a holistic perspective, I have like failed to release as many games as I should have during these last years that weren't like sponsored games or things where I had like outside pressure. But I also think I've learned a lot from what I've done, so I don't really regret anything. It's really hard to view anything I've done on Roblox as a distinct failure because I've always learned something from it.
So chapter 3, the future. So with all that said, what is some advice you would give to your 12-year-old self back when you started in 2009?
I would pretty much tell myself to like keep on going, maybe focus more on collaboration, but probably not. I think I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. Like I've done a lot of things and I'm very happy with that. It's hard to give specific advice because it's hard to like not view the past as like steps where I got to where I am right now. I think if I was giving like someone around my age the same advice in the same position though, it would be like, don't stop trying to make things and keep on trying because you're going to get there eventually, or at least you'll learn a lot along the way.
Yeah, right on. What's next for you?
So I'm working on this accelerator program for 3 more months. So trying to make this game into something really fun and enjoyable for people to play, and then going to Microsoft to work full time on like developer tools. So that'll be really exciting.
What are some resources you would recommend for someone looking to get into game development?
Yeah, so from the programming side, there's the open source Roblox Discord, which has like 500 people in it, and it's really, really like mature, and there's a lot of really, really helpful people there. So if you're like interested in like learning a lot about software engineering in general on Roblox, that would be a really good place to get help with that. My recommendation is to find a good group of people who you feel comfortable asking questions to and like get their feedback and help. Like find someone who's going to be able to mentor you, which is easier said than done. Like ask them for help and feedback, and maybe they'll learn something along the way too.